guys? It's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 30, here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how you doing tonight, man?
Happy to be here and talk fights with you, Phil. Let's get into it.
Yo, we did it. The big 3-0. Episode 30,
Yep.
baby.
Another milestone, 30 episodes. Let's keep chugging away. Thanks to everybody who's listening.
Absolutely. Okay, so really quick summary for what's on tap tonight, guys. We've got the UFC Sacramento Recap. A lot happened on that card. Then we're going to dive into our UFC San Antonio picks. And then we're going to my favorite section, the listener questions and more. So let me start off the episode with this question for you, Fight Geek. Obviously, Jermaine Durandamy had a huge win over Aspen Ladd on Saturday night, winning by TKO punches 16 seconds into the first round. But there was a lot of controversy about Herb Dean's stoppage. What do you think? Was it a premature stoppage, or was the stoppage right on time?
Tough one. I think universally, I think we're all kind of in the same boat that it was a little premature. But with that said, she had caught such a clean shot from a power striker. I don't think she was going to recover, in my personal opinion, but I do have to say it was probably a bit premature. What about you?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. And one thing that I was hearing from a lot of the people that were saying it was an appropriate stoppage, they were saying, things like, well, Aspen had a very tough weight cut, which she did. And I admit, watching that weight cut video with her on the scales was very disturbing. It didn't, she did not look good. But here's the thing. She was cleared to fight. She was medically cleared to fight. So, Herb Dean cannot be using the tough weight cut as a consideration, in the fight.
But that's all kind of hearsay, though. I don't think he's come out and said that he used that in determining, if she was defending herself intelligently or not right there. I mean, she does pause after being, she surely was stunned. I think we can all agree with that,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, but it's Aspen Ladd. I mean, she's as tough as they come.
Yeah, well, I mean, for female strikers, Jermaine Durandamy, it hits as hard as they come. So, she can be as tough as she wants to be. She caught a straight right hand right down the pipe on her chin as clean as possible. I don't think that's, a great attribute to, she obviously got hit. She obviously was stunned. And, there was not to my knowledge, a huge follow-up punch because obviously Herb got in the way. But you can surely see that she appears to be, stunned on the ground as she kind of swivels to her. I think it's her right. That being said, I think we've seen quite a few instances where a follow-up, one or two, is necessary to really kind of hammer that victory home. But I don't think it's as egregious as everyone else.
Okay, very fair. Yeah, she did look stunned. That was a very clean first shot. JDR did follow up with a second shot, but that did not land clean at all. So I thought Aspen...
Yeah, wasn't Herb in the middle of actually stepping in while she throws that?
I'm not 100% sure, but I am 90% sure. I don't think so. I think that he stepped in after the second shot. Possibly.
Here's my question to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think she was going to recover from taking that shot?
If anyone was going to do it, it would be Aspen Ladd. And the fact that we have to ask that question, Fight Geek, the fact we have to ask that means it was premature.
Using Aspen Ladd's toughness like she's Robbie Lawler or something. Where has she exuded
She practically is the female Robbie Lawler.
When has she shown you this unbelievable toughness? She has 8 wins in the UFC. Half of them she has 8 wins total, a couple of them in the UFC. In the rest of her resume, you probably wouldn't identify who the fighters are. So How do you know she's so tough?
Okay, first of all, when she destroyed Tanya Evinger, who's no joke. Second of all, how about her fight against Sarge Eubanks? Sarge, by the way, is a great fighter who's come leaps and bounds. She showed a lot of toughness in that fight.
I'm not saying that she's not tough, but you keep just saying she's as tough as they come. She's as tough as they come. And I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but what does that mean whenever you take a shot to your face and are clearly stunned,
Yeah. Okay, I hear you. And then just while we're on the subject of the fight, what would you like to see next for Germaine de Randamie? Obviously, she did not call out Nunes in the cage. She said after Bisping asked her what's next, she said, whatever the UFC thinks is next. And we know she's got a little bit of a record of ducking fighters that she might be scared of. So, what do you think's next?
I mean, honestly, I'd like to see her fight Nunes. If you listen to her on Ariel's show, she's completely open to that. She's open to, but she's not going to wait for, Nunes to fight the winner of, Cyborg, Spencer, or something like that. She said she wants to be active. So with that said, I would like to see her next for Nunes. I think that's an interesting matchup. She's big and rangy. She has the striking acumen to keep Amanda honest. So I would really honestly like to see that fight. I know you don't necessarily agree with me.
I just rolled my eyes for those who can't see us, which is everyone.
She's 7-1 in the UFC. If she doesn't get that fight, I'm not quite sure who I'd like to see her against. Yeah, off the top of my head at 135, I'm not quite sure who she would line up against. Who's the top 4 in that division at this point?
Yeah, so it's number 1 contender JDR, Keelan Vieira, Holly Holm, and then Juliana Pena. Pena could be an interesting opponent for JDR.
Right, so if she wants to stay active, you could match her up with Juliana Pena, who's coming off a win after a layoff, yada, yada. That could be an interesting number 1 contender fight for Nunes when she comes back as well.
Yeah, and then right before we move off of this fight, let me ask you one final question. What do you think is next? What do you think is next for Aspen Ladd? Some people have been saying she needs to move to 145. I personally, I'm not sure about that. It sounds like she's just gotta, cut weight a little bit more strategically. But what's your opinion?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. That she seems to have had problems a few times, right? Cutting weight, or was this her first instance of having weight cutting problems?
Yeah, this was definitely her worst weight cut for sure. I believe she's missed weight before, but don't quote me on that. She's definitely had some sketchy weight cuts.
I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. She's still so young, and at 25, when it's generally easier for fighters to cut weight as when they're younger. So if she's having this hard of a time cutting weight when she's this young, then it might be a better situation to go to 145. It's so much more shallow there as well, so I think she gets elevated right to the top 5 or however, top 3 in that division. There's just really not that many names. So I think if it really was that bad of a weight cut and only her and her team know, then I think 145 is probably the answer. Because it certainly did not look good.
Okay. What about... Okay, see, I'm of the mind, and of course I could be wrong, I'm of the mind that Aspen just needs to just kind of cut weight more strategically. I think she'll be fine at bantamweight. I would like to see her versus Keelan Vieira. Does Vieira have an opponent right now? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. That's certainly an interesting fight for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So are we ready to move on to the co-main event? A lot happened, with that fight, so I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah, let's dive right into it.
Okay, so first of all, my little hot run of guessing main and co-main events is definitely over. So that's done. Congratulations to you, Fight Geek. You made me look like a super jerk because you picked my favorite fighter of all time, Uriah Faber, defeating Ricky Simone.
You had no faith in your guy.
I had. Oh my gosh! Why'd you have to put it like that? Why'd you have to put it like that? You know what? Why did I even say that? Why did I even give you any credit? I hate giving you credit. So thank you for making me look like a jerk. Uriah Faber defeats Ricky Simone via TKO punches, 46 seconds into round number 1. What a performance from Faber, and I would be lying if I didn't say that I'm just loving this. I love it. Faber's back, baby. What did you take away from this?
Well, I mean, he picked a good time to come back, I think based on the fact that Henry recently called him out, and then he has a performance like that, and then he's able to get on the mic and mention Henry. I think, obviously, the stars are aligning for Faber. With that being said, I think there might be a touch of fool's gold in there. In that fight, Faber got hit hard, and Faber was reeling for a second or two in that fight. He was completely backpedaling. I thought he was in big trouble for a second. Luckily, he was able to kind of regroup and land that counter right hand. But yeah, physically, at his age, he's in as good a shape as he's ever been, which he's always been in great shape. So I wasn't necessarily all that surprised with the way he looked. Ricky Simone, and I had mentioned this before, had never fought anyone nearly as resourceful as a Uriah Faber in there. A guy with 34 career wins, a former title holder, a former title challenger, a guy who's won via submissions, who's won via knockouts. I mean, Uriah Faber has done it all. So his resourcefulness, which I think you saw in there, he hurt Ricky Simone after being hurt and then swarmed on him and didn't let him recover. Showed a lot of his veteran savvy, which is, what you're going to have at 40 years old. Super impressed. Yeah, I think he couldn't have picked a better time to make a statement like that, and he's right back in the middle of things.
Yep, absolutely agree. After the fight, like you mentioned, Faber kind of called out Cejudo, who had called him out originally, obviously following his win at 238. Faber returned it. And, I don't like giving Cejudo credit for the whole, cringe is the new cool thing. None of it had really resonated with me, but I have got to admit, Fight Geek, that when Cejudo tweeted, "Careful what you wish for, my cornrowed princess," that was damn good. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually kind of getting into this cringe Cejudo thing.
Yeah, I think you're alone there. I'm not really into it.
Oh, come on.
I'm not into it at all. I don't even think it makes a whole lot of sense, a lot of what he was saying. I think he was talking about Yugoslavia the other day. I think he's not doing himself any favors.
Wait, what? What about Yugoslavia? Do I even want to know? What?
Well, I think he made a video telling Uriah to get on his skateboard and go to Yugoslavia and bend his knee and beg for a chance to fight him, even though he had previously called out Uriah, and Uriah was just responding. It was a big mess of a post. You can go check. I think it's pinned to his page or something.
I'm going to have to check that out. Not to be a history nerd, which I am, but Yugoslavia is a country that no longer exists. So that country ended in 1994, I believe. So that would be a difficult place to visit.
I think the moral of the story was that Henry's cringe really has no aim. He wants Uriah to skateboard to a country that no longer exists.
Okay. So who would you like to see Faber fight next? Are you digging this Faber-Cejudo fight right off the bat? Faber he just debuted in the rankings at number 14. A lot of people are saying it's undeserved, and even me being a biased Faber fan, look, I can't lie. I totally agree. He has no business fighting for the title. At the same time, Faber-Cejudo sounds mighty fun. Don't kill me, guys. But I get it. He doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's the California kid. He's And with a performance like that, he's going to be one of the more marketable opponents for Henry Cejudo, who's clearly trying to leverage whatever this cringe era he's in for all the money it's worth. And a guy like Uriah Faber is going to present a whole lot more than Joseph Benavidez, who is who I would prefer him to fight. But I just don't think so. Uriah's going to be feeling good. He's going to be healthy, so he's going to be ready as soon as Henry's ready. He took literally no damage.
Yeah, and
I think for the 135-pound division, it sucks for guys like, actually, most of the division. That division is absolutely stacked, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. What about this idea? Because we all know that Cejudo's out for the rest of the year. So to appease, the MMA fans who say, this is a sport, Faber doesn't deserve it, which I completely understand for the record. He really does not deserve it. I want to be clear. What about making an interim bantamweight title fight between Faber and Aljamain Sterling?
I like that fight. That's the fight I would like for him most, and I think that's probably his most winnable fight in the top 5. But yeah, I don't like it for an interim belt. I just don't want to see a third belt. I don't want that interim belt on the line there. I definitely don't think.
Why not?
Well, like you said, Faber doesn't really deserve that, especially whenever Aljamain Sterling is on a nice win streak, but I wouldn't say he's like the undeniable number 1 guy. I guess after Marlon Moraes, he's a nice choice as the number 1 guy, but I don't think he's done so much that's so undeniable. So I could see a nice number 1 contender matchup with him and Uriah.
You're saying Marlon and Uriah?
No, Aljamain.
Oh, yeah. I was confused because Marlon is fantastic, but he just lost to Henry. He's got to win a few more fights to get back there.
Right. Exactly. So I'm thinking number 1 contender match, Aljo versus Faber.
Why not just make that an interim title fight? Because Cejudo's out for the year, dude.
Yeah, so it's just one more fight, man. We're already, almost in August.
What are we even disagreeing about? Wait, what are we even disagreeing about here? We're agreeing.
Right, nothing. Let's move on then.
All right. Okay. Moving on. Josh Emmett defeats Mirsad Bektic via TKO punches 4 minutes and 25 seconds into the first round. Man, what a killer Josh Emmett has become, huh?
Super powerful. Arguably the most powerful puncher at the 145-pound division. Super tough guy. Yeah, impressive. His takedown defense and his wrestling allows him to keep it where he wants, which is banging. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of guys who are going to be banging with Josh Emmett. I think it was Luke Thomas talking about his toughness and rebounding from a catastrophic loss like the one he suffered to Jeremy Stevens, and have the confidence to come back and not be gun shy and still just get in these firefights and be able to take shots and knock guys out is super impressive. So, I think he's a top of the food chain 145er, super impressed with his comeback, and he is a handful for anyone to deal with when you get into a firefight. He's extremely powerful.
Yep, absolutely agree with you. Do you have an opponent in mind next for Josh Emmett following this extremely impressive victory?
Well, I know Jose Aldo just signed a new contract, right? How about Josh Emmett and Jose Aldo?
I love it. I love that fight. I'm trying to think if they fought before and if this would be a rematch. No.
Aldo has never fought Josh Emmett. No.
Make the fight. Done. I'm all in on that. All in on Emmett versus Aldo.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a great one. Okay, moving on, because I thought this was actually really a surprisingly good card. I don't know about you. Carl Robertson defeats Wellington Turman via split decision. We don't have to talk too much about that. I thought both of them honestly looked okay. Did you have any thoughts? We can move on.
Yeah, it was a back and forth, kind of a grueling fight. I think both of them are similar stages in their career, both pretty good prospects that kind of nullified each other's strengths, so it wasn't a whole lot of action in that fight. But I do think both guys have quite a bit of potential. I just think they kind of nullified each other a bit in that fight.
Yeah, I have to agree. Moving on to Marvin Vettori defeating Cesar Ferreira via unanimous decision 30-27, 30-27, 30-27. I thought Marvin looked great, but there's something missing from his game, and I don't even know what it is, man. I think it might be punching power, if that's possible, but why can't he finish his fights?
He's still young.
He can't finish his fights, and I don't know why.
Well, I mean, the guys he's fighting are incredibly tough. Kelvin Gastelum couldn't finish Israel Adesanya.
Well, I mean, come on, yeah. Israel Adesanya is fighting for the belt. He's the interim champ.
Yeah, well, Vettori has fought him closer than anybody on the roster so far that he's fought.
Yeah, bah, humbug. That was a while ago.
That was his last fight, like a year ago.
That was Marvin's last fight. That wasn't Israel's last fight.
So that's not a bad loss, and he comes in and fights Ferreira, who's a super tough veteran who does possess a lot of ways to beat you, and he completely shut him down, walked him down, and like basically threw him around the octagon and did whatever he wanted with him. Took his best shots and just kept landing at will. I think that's a tough guy to knock out, so I'm not ready to say Vettori doesn't have power. I think he's a great prospect, honestly.
No, I agree. So Marvin Vettori, he remains unranked, and I've got a big fight in mind for him, but I want to hear your opinion on it. I think that Vettori should fight Mr. Brad Tavares.
It's a good fight. I like that one.
Brad's ranked number 12, FYI. Marvin is unranked. You like that?
I can see that, or who's Brunson fighting?
Oh, that's number 8. Is Marvin ready for Derek Brunson?
Only one way to find out.
I'm trying to think if Brunson has a fight. He may not. Shoot. But yeah, I love both of those. I love both of those regardless. Okay, all right. Moving on. We had John Allen at light heavyweight defeating Mike Rodriguez via unanimous decision. I don't have too much to say about that fight. Do you?
Yeah, not much to say. It was kind of a meh fight. So let's just jump into Andre Fili because that was an impressive performance.
Andre Touchy Fili defeating Shaman Moraes, touching Moraes all over the place. I mean, that's assault, brother, as I tweeted. I thought he looked. Look, Touchy Fili looks. He's been getting better and better. I mean, he really has been.
Yeah, absolutely. A guy who came in super young and raw and has kind of developed in front of our eyes in the octagon. And I think he's improved each and every time. His only loss is a split decision, I believe, to Michael Johnson in like his last 6 fights. So he's actually really been trending up, and this was by far the most power he's shown. And like you said, he's just lands a lot of variety. He's super lanky, so he has, good kicks. He can stay at range. So yeah, he's one to watch. That's why I picked him to win. I thought that he would certainly outlast Shaman Moraes, who has a tendency to gas, but he ended up landing a little more heavy shots than I was anticipating.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think? Should be next for Andre Touchy Fili? Because I'm eyeing number 12 Arnold Allen.
Ooh, that's a nice one. And is Fili ranked yet or no?
He's not ranked as of right now, surprisingly.
Touchy Fili versus Arnold Allen is a fun one for sure. I like that fight.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on. Women's bantamweight. Oh, this is a big one. Juliana Pena returns from, I believe, a over 2-year absence to defeat Nico Montano via unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-28, 29-27. What was your takeaway from that? And I don't want to get too into it because we've got at least one good listener question that really asks about her. But what was your takeaway from that performance?
Yeah, I thought, she's kind of a grinder before she left, so I think you kind of saw the similar style that she was able to outwork Montano a little bit, win some of the positions on the ground. With that being said, it was a fairly close fight in my opinion. I don't think either girl showed many dominant sequences, so it's pretty back and forth. So I wasn't overly impressed personally, but certainly an interesting new player in the division.
Yep, I totally agree. I remember, while I was watching that fight, I kept thinking back to last episode when I was saying, guys, Nico is not going to win, and you can go and talk crap to me if I'm wrong, and I'll retweet it. And I won't lie, I was sweating bullets. Because you know what? I underestimated Nico. She showed some toughness. She showed some heart. Still don't like her. Don't like that fighter at all. She's, but anyways, she did look decent, and I agree with you. I thought that, Pena's performance was a little underwhelming. By the way, Pena is now debuted. She went from no ranking to number 4 on the bantamweight contenders list. So,
and I believe that's where she was when she left, honestly. So,
yeah.
Right back at the top, she's going to be interesting to see what's next. Like we were saying, Jermaine Durandamy may be an interesting next fight for her if Nunes goes to 145 next.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, moving on to featherweight. Ryan Hall defeats Darren Elkins via unanimous decision. I believe we both got this wrong. I think we both hit the damage to win. Ryan Hall is really a unique talent. What did you think of this fight?
Yeah, Ryan Hall is tricky, man. He's unlike anyone else. He presents a very distinct set of problems, and he's getting very tricky with his striking and his kicks and the way he uses his footwork. So super unorthodox guy. I think he's actually gotten a little better than I thought he would get coming off of The Ultimate Fighter.
Oh yeah.
I think he presents quite a few problems for a lot of guys. So couldn't have been more impressed. Obviously, Darren Elkins is a very hard guy to look good against. I didn't think Elkins would be finished at all, which he wasn't. But Ryan Hall was able to do a lot of things other than just, flop on his back, which is still part of his game plan and I'm sure always will be. But I think the versatility with his striking has been a pleasant surprise for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I could be wrong about this, but I believe that Ryan Hall is training with Wonder Boy. Is that correct? I know that he's incorporated karate. I know that.
I'm not positive, but that would make sense considering the way he was kind of throwing those side kicks.
He's got a karate style stand up now, which is cool.
Exactly.
And it works well.
Great.
Yeah. So I think this is interesting. So Ryan Hall is truly an interesting case because he was unranked. He's now number 14 in the featherweight rankings, and I'm very curious who you think he should fight next. Do you have a name in mind, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this. I saw this earlier. So do you know that in 4 fights in the UFC, 2 have been at lightweight and 2 have been at 145? Did you know that?
I could lie and say I did, but you know what? I didn't.
So technically he's fought twice at 155 and twice at 145. So I think he has a hard time getting fights, which he stated in the past.
Yep.
And he kind of takes the liberty to fluctuate up and down there to take fights. With that being said, I have someone in both divisions that I think is interesting. I think if he were to go to 155, fighting someone like Charles Oliveira, who has athletic striking and amazing jiu-jitsu to combat Ryan Hall's, is a great matchup at 155.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Hall versus Charles Oliveira. Or if he's content at 145 for now, I would sit and wait for the winner of Cub Swanson and Kron Gracie.
Ooh, okay. All right. What's very interesting about that 45 pick is that neither Cub nor Kron are currently ranked, while Ryan sits at 14.
That's true, but I think based on name recognition, both of those guys would present very good opponent for him.
I agree. So my personal opinion is, it seems that Ryan can make 45 relatively easily. Relatively. I mean, we don't know the details, of course, but he seems to be able to make it. I say, therefore, stay at 45. You're ranked at 45. You're not ranked at 55. And I would like to see him fight Renato Moicano, number 10, the number 10 contender. What do you say?
Oh, that would be very interesting. Ryan Hall versus Moicano, who just was close to challenging for a belt. So, super interested. I'd watch that fight all day.
Yep. All right. So, moving on. Bantamweight, Jonathan Martinez defeats Pingwan Liu via KO via knee. 3 minutes and 54 seconds into the third round. I thought that was a very nice KO from Martinez that I didn't see coming in a very competitive fight. What did you think?
Yeah, it was a good fight back and forth, and it was kind of an out-of-nowhere knee that ended it. So, yeah, I kind of echo your thoughts there. I was impressed by the finish, impressed by Martinez's toughness. I think he was losing early on in that fight, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a very close fight. It
was somewhat of a comeback win. So, yeah, super exciting finish. I liked it.
Do you have anyone in mind for Jonathan Martinez at bantamweight? I have one, but I'd like to...
Let's hear it.
Okay, so I'm thinking have him fight John Dodson.
That sounds good. I mean, we haven't heard from John Dodson in a while, right?
Yeah, we have not. John Dodson is ranked as the number 12 contender. I also don't dislike him versus number 11 Rob Font.
Yeah, I could see that as well.
Yeah, so just food for thought there. Okay, women's strawweight, Brianna Van Buren defeats Livia Renato Souza via unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 30-27. Honestly, Brianna Van Buren, and I tweeted this during the night, she made a huge fan out of me. That girl has spunk. She has got something. She's got some special energy. It wasn't, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying she's the second coming of
Special energy? What does that mean?
Oh, okay.
I thought she was.
Yeah.
I thought she was actually a very good striker with a lot of pop, super tough. So explain to me what you mean by spunk.
Yeah. Okay. Spunk means strong determination.
Okay.
So Van Buren has a lot of mental toughness. I think that she is very mentally tough. I think that she takes what she's got in terms of natural talent, which may be slightly limited, and really stretches it as far as it can go. I love fighters like that who do a lot with a limited skill set, and I think that Van Buren is that fighter. So I love those types of fighters. I really like them. So I would like to see Van Buren get a ranked opponent next, personally. Do you think she's ready?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I thought that was a great debut. I thought she looked really good. So, yeah, for sure.
How about Van Buren versus... okay. I was about to say number 13, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, but that doesn't sound good for her. Courtney Casey or number 14, Courtney Casey, or number 15, Yan Xiaonan?
I guess I could go with number 15 there.
Okay.
But this is such intriguing. Listen here. Let's keep it moving.
All right. Hey, show some respect for Van Buren. Bantamweight, Benito Lopez defeats Vince Moraes via unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. I didn't care much for this fight. I mean, unless you've got anything to say, we can probably move on.
Yeah, I actually thought Vince Morales was winning this fight. So I was a little surprised by the decision, but I picked Benito Lopez, so I'll take it. Super tough fight. Lopez was landing low kicks, and I think Morales was countering high. So I guess it was kind of like beauty's in the eye of the beholder type judging.
Absolutely. Okay, so if we're ready to move on, let's get into our UFC San Antonio picks. Now, my first takeaway from this fight, Geek, was, I really took a closer look at the card yesterday and today, and my first thoughts were, oh, wow, this actually has a lot of fascinating matchups, and more importantly, this has a lot of really hard calls. What'd you think?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I think it's going to be a great card, lots of action, a lot of intriguing matchups. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the lineup on UFC San Antonio. So let's jump right in.
Let's jump right in. We can do the thing where we switch off picks here. I will let you go first. The main event, Rafael Dos Anjos takes on Leon Edwards. Who you got? What are your thoughts on this fight?
Super close fight. Leon Edwards, another wrestler, RDA again, just proving that he'll take on anyone at any time. Impressed by that. So with that being said, I am going to take RDA in this matchup. I just think he's going to find a way to get it done. I think we saw Leon Edwards versus Cowboy Cerrone, and he was able to really be comfortable and set the pace on that main event, and that's kind of how he kind of cruised to victory versus Cerrone. I don't think he's going to be able to set the pace versus RDA. I think RDA is going to be able to push his pace onto Leon Edwards, and I think he'll eventually wear him down, use his versatility to kind of keep the fight where he wants it, and I'm taking RDA by unanimous decision.
Okay, and didn't Leon Edwards, didn't he fight Gunnar Nelson last, or am I wrong?
Yeah, no, he did. I was just using the Cerrone fight as kind of a reference fight because of the striking.
Yeah.
So I think he did beat Gunnar Nelson most recently.
Yeah, so the only reason that I even bring up that Gunnar Nelson fight is I thought that it kind of encapsulated, how I feel about Leon Edwards in general. I remember that Leon Edwards was out wrestling Gunnar for a good part of that fight, and that was a big surprise. I think I chose Gunnar to win that fight beforehand, and I admit it. But then I won't forget that Gunnar was able to flip him over and pass his guard and establish top control and start raining down punches, I believe, in the last 30 seconds. And Leon was just holding on for dear life and really getting bashed badly. And, I was so underwhelmed with that ending. And I guess I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't understand why everyone is making a big deal about Leon Edwards. If he is supremely talented, boy, have I not seen it yet. So I have got RDA inside the distance. I'm surprised you think it'll go to a decision, frankly, Fight Geek. I think RDA is going to get this stoppage via submission in the third round.
Ooh, submission stoppage, huh? Interesting. Yeah, I think Leon Edwards is certainly tough. I don't think he has a history of being submitted, does he? So
no,
that would be a little bit of a flyer, but yeah, I don't think he's faced a lot of guys like RDA. And I think when he's allowed to kind of push the pace and do his own thing, that works well for him. But RDA has a history of being able to implement his game plan as well. And if he's able to do that, I think that it'll be very good for night for RDA.
Exactly. Okay, moving on to the co-main event, heavyweight, Alexei Oleinik versus Walt Harris. And I believe it is now my turn. This is a fascinating fight. This is a fascinating matchup. It's worth mentioning that Walt Harris is a decently big favorite. He's a minus 145 favorite. Alexei Oleinik is a plus 115 dog. And you know what? Fight Geek? I'm feeling a little crazy tonight. And I got Oleinik via submission in the second round, baby.
Yeah, that's very, very possible. But I have Walt Harris. I think that physically in the last few fights, Walt Harris has physically looked great, really starting to hit his prime. Hard hitter. I think we just saw Oleinik. Wasn't his last fight Overeem?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe so.
And Overeem knocked him out, was able to land heavy on him. If Walt Harris lands heavily and square on you, you're not going to last very long. So I know that Olenek has a big-time grappling advantage, but I just think that Walt Harris is so much more athletic and quick that he's going to be able to get in there, land his shots, stay away, and I'm taking Walt Harris by first-round stoppage.
Wow, we disagree.
About time. All right, so...
All right, moving on. Okay, next fight's another heavyweight fight. We have Greg the Woman Beater Hardy. Oh, whoops, is that his nickname? Versus Juan the Kraken Adams. And full disclosure, everyone, yes, we did have Juan Adams on the show recently as a guest. He is a friend of the program. But hopefully, Fight Geek, you can make a fair choice with no bias here. Who you got on Hardy versus Adams?
Well, I am taking Juan Adams. I don't feel like I'm being biased. I just think that this is the most legitimate competition that Hardy has faced. I think he has good overall athleticism. He's bigger than Greg Hardy, I believe, and more experienced. So I just think that he will find a way. And I am actually taking Juan Adams by split decision.
Ooh, very cool. Okay. So I also have Juan getting the win here. I think that Greg is a one-trick pony with a lot of power for about 4.5 minutes. And that's it. He throws bombs for 4.5 minutes. He hopes his opponent goes down, and if they don't, that's it. So I think that Juan is going to be very smart.
The only thing I will say in defense of Greg Hardy is he is at ATT, who's proven themselves to be an amazing team at this point. So I think it's, I think the fact that they're working with him can assure you that he'll be at least, decent at in all areas, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I don't know if you were seeing, but Ariel Helwani had Greg Hardy on his show earlier this week, which was honestly a little disappointing, but I don't want to get into the politics of that. I was disappointed with that. And I thought that Greg Hardy said that he has the potential to be the greatest heavyweight combat sports fighter of all time. And I'm not sure if he was thinking of female fighters at heavyweight. I don't think there's a lot of them, but I thought that was pretty preposterous. I think that this is what I honestly think is going to happen. Juan will lose the first round while battling the storm of Greg Hardy's first 5 minutes, and after that, I see it as one-way traffic for Juan Adams. I think Juan Adams is going to win a unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board, defeating Greg Hardy. Moving on, lightweight, we've got Dan the Hangman Hooker versus James Vick. And I believe it is my turn, correct?
Yep, let's go.
All right, you know what? This is a tough fight to call. So guys, do not bet on this one. Talk about a tough fight to call. But I just think that Hooker is a little hungrier. I think he's a little tougher, and I've got Hooker pulling out the split decision over Vic, baby. Who you got?
Dang, man. We're not much drama in this episode. I'm taking Hooker via split decision as well. I think Vic is really reeling right now. I think kind of the jury is out on how to beat him. He has tough weight cuts. He just lost to Felder, who's somewhat similar to Hooker in their athleticism and, their striking prowess. Obviously, Felder's a little better of a striker, but I think Hooker has shown quite a bit in his last few fights. He's certainly tough. So I'm expecting Hooker to bounce back, be able to close the distance, get in on Vic, and, I think he'll probably win a 29-28-ish fight. Split decision as well.
Wow. Okay. Next up, lightweight, we've got Francisco Trinaldo versus Alexander. I talked shit to Cowboy and got my ass whooped, Hernandez. I don't want to talk too much about this fight because we've got a great listener question about it, but it is it's your turn, and let me know who you got.
I'm taking Alexander Hernandez. I think Trinaldo is really the gatekeeper of the 155-pound division. Tough guy, but I think the real contender types get past him, and I expect Hernandez to get past him. Yes, he had a setback versus Cowboy, but I still think he has considerable talent and potential, and I'm sure he'll be more focused than ever. And I do take Hernandez via unanimous decision.
Okay. All right. I have Alexander Hernandez via stoppage in the second round via TKO punches.
Nice. Okay, let's keep it moving.
Moving on. Heavyweight. Andrei Arlovsky versus Ben Rothwell.
Rematch 11 years in the making.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's my turn, right?
Yep.
Oh, man. This is a great fight. This is a close fight. This is a fun fight. And you know what? I got Arlovsky winning via second round knockout.
Interesting. I have Ben Rothwell winning via second round knockout.
Whoa! Hashtag split podcast.
Exactly. I just think that Ben Rothwell, who I thought won his comeback fight.
Yeah, remember that. You thought he won on air, and I had to tell you he had lost. Remember that?
So I wasn't all that. I was high on him after that performance. You know, Arlovsky is super durable, but, you know, on the backside of his career, I don't even know off the top of my head what he is in like his last 5 fights. But it's not great, and I think that Ben Rothwell's a little hungrier, still coming back from his suspension. I'm taking Ben Rothwell, who's just a huge human being, to outlast the older Arlovsky. Arlovsky is older, right?
I believe so. I'm not checking it,
Rothwell.
but sounds right. Okay. Moving on. Alex, is it Caceres or Caceres?
No, it's Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres.
Okay, Caceres versus Steven Peterson. Who you got?
I'm taking Alex Caceres in this one by second round submission.
Woo! I also have Alex Caceres via unanimous decision.
Nice.
Okay. Women's bantamweight, Irene Aldana versus Raquel Pennington. This is actually a very good fight. This is a really good fight.
Very tough fight to pick, too.
Very tough fight to pick. You know, at first I was thinking, you know, who's hungrier? Obviously, I think Aldana's hungrier. But Pennington is so damn tough. So I've got Pennington winning a unanimous decision, 2-1, baby. Pennington via unanimous decision.
And I think the exact opposite. I think that Pennington's toughness has cost her in her career greatly.
Woo!
She's taken that damage to her leg, that damage she took versus Nunes, I think is caught up to her. What does she have? I think she has like 8 losses in her career, right? 7 or 8 losses. So she's taken her fair share of damage. I'm taking Irene Aldana via unanimous decision.
Wow, we disagree. Okay. Moving on to the light heavyweight bout between Smiling Sam Alvey and Klidson Abreu. Who you got?
Taking Smiling Sam, going against a guy who's primarily a jiu-jitsu guy, I believe. Smiling Sam's only been submitted 1 time in 46 fights. Well, he's not the most appealing fighter. He is certainly gritty vet, and I don't expect him to get submitted. I'll take him by grinding decision. Smiling Sam.
All right. We disagree again. I've got Abreu via third round stoppage via submission, baby.
That would be a feat. Like I said, Smiling Sam has only been subbed once in 46 fights. So.
Well, there's a second time for everything. I don't know if that's a saying, but let's just say it is. Okay.
For your sake, we'll hope so.
All right. Women's flyweight, Roxanne, the Happy Warrior, Matafari versus Jennifer Maya. I believe it's my turn, right?
Yep.
Look, a lot of people hate on the Happy Warrior. A lot of people don't like her, think she's corny, thinks she wears her glasses too much, thinks that, she wrote a children's book called The Happy Warrior and thought it was corny. And you know what? You guys are right. All of that stuff sucks. But I like Roxanne, and I think she's a good person, and I think she's an even better fighter. And I have got Roxanne Modafferi beating Jennifer Maia via unanimous decision.
Whoa. Got a little lost there, Phil. All right, I'm taking Jennifer Maia.
What was lost? You disagree with any of that?
I'm taking Jennifer Maia over the Happy Warrior via, we'll say, split decision, and we'll keep it moving.
Bantamweight, Ray Borg returns, Vases, Gabriel Silva. I said Vices to sound cool. Vices. Gabriel Silva. Who you got?
Ray Borg.
How? Via?
Ray Borg via, let's say, I didn't put a ton of thought into it, but let's say he gets back on track with a first-round submission.
Didn't put a ton of thought. Do you guys hear this? Fight Geek doesn't put in the effort needed. I spend hours and hours on Monday night. And I'm just up, and I've got my bed covers over my head, and I've got my flashlight on, and I'm just kind of looking like a little 4-year-old. And, Fight Geek's asleep. He's just sleeping and dreaming, It just shows, the difference in professionalism here. So, I can't even say that with a straight face. Okay, whatever. Shut up. Moving on. Ray Borg. I've got Ray Borg winning this one via unanimous decision.
Excellent.
All right, we can move through these last two. I mean, let's be honest, they kind of suck. Mario Bautista versus Jin Soo San. Who you got?
Taking Mario Bautista here.
Ooh, I got Jin Soo San.
Nice. It's fun to disagree on a couple. All right, and then I'm taking Domingo Pilarte in the last fight. Who do you got now?
Yeah, I got Pilarte via second round stoppage.
All right, well, let's keep it moving.
Okay, all right. So before we jump into listener questions, we're going to take a quick break with a word from our sponsors. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.TotalAggressionClothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.TotalAggressionClothing.com with promo code 46210. All right, guys, we're back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode 30, here with the listener questions.
Very nice. Okay, we got them queued up right here. I got one all ready to go. It is from Kenneth Roberts at Mr_Tiddlewinks.
Kenneth, what up?
Do you think that Edson Barbosa is the gatekeeper for the 155-pound division? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that question and I knew we were going to disagree because we disagree with what a gatekeeper means, if I remember correctly.
Well, what do you think on Edson Barbosa specifically?
I mean, my answer is yes. Edson is the ultimate gatekeeper because I believe he's in the top 10 still, and I believe that gatekeepers are, top 10 fighters who, do just that, gatekeep. Edson is number 7 right now, so he's a high-ranked gatekeeper, but yes, I think he absolutely is. What about you?
Yeah, I hate to agree here because we do disagree on the definition, but I think he would fall into my definition as well. A guy who certainly is good enough to test prospects, but probably not good enough to ever win a UFC title. So I think he would certainly fall into the gatekeeper category.
Yep, have to agree. All right, so next question. This is from one of my favorite people, Derek Lewis's Hot Balls, a.k.a. Pixie. That's at PixieDust26. Do you lads appreciate Ryan Hall's unique style? What do you have to say, Fight Geek?
Absolutely. I can certainly appreciate his style. I appreciate that he's not just kind of rested on his grappling laurels and he's actually added different elements each time we've seen him to the point now where he's actually a tricky striker.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I certainly appreciate his fight IQ for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And then I don't want to miss this. At Grasp Gains then put in his 2 cents of, and I want to hear who the Fight Geek would match him up with next. So thank you, Grasp Gains, for treating me like chopped liver. You effing jerk. No, I kid. But thanks a lot, buddy. So, Fight Geek, who do you think he should be matched up with next, even though we sort of answered this question?
Well, again, I like the winner of Cub Swanson versus Kron Gracie. I think that is a great matchup for him. We either get a grappling super fight in the UFC or we get him testing himself versus a very versatile striker and tested veteran in Cub Swanson, excuse me.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, do you have a question lined up or should I go?
Yeah, I got one from regular Quinn at Orthodox 1993.
What up, Quinn? What up?
He says, do y'all really think Juliana Pena deserves to move up to number 4 in the bantamweight rankings after beating Montano? I think we briefly touched on this. I think number 4 may be a touch high without looking at the rankings after a 2-year layoff coming off a loss. But I certainly think with a little more another camp, she can look better and is certainly a player in that division. So.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm totally fine with it. I think that, and here's why, Quinn. I think that Nico Montano really exceeded my expectations, at least. I thought she was a total bum, and guess what? She looked good. You know, I'll admit it. You know, Nico looked good.
She's a former champion, Phil.
Okay. Right. Beating all the tough people. Right. Anyways, no, but Nico did look better than expected. So I think four is fair.
Nico beat the Happy Warrior, who you're so high on?
I mean, did I say that the Happy Warrior is a future Hall of Famer? But yeah, no, I do think it is fair, Quinn. I do think it's fair.
Okay. Got another one queued up here from Fighting With Myself podcast.
Love that guy. Fighting With Myself, what up? Thank you for the shout-outs. We appreciate it, Juice. He goes by Juice.
And going to shout him out. He's the winner of our social media giveaway this week. Him along with Robert _Mr. Tittlewinks won the Total Aggression clothing t-shirts that we gave away this week. So thanks for everybody who participated in that. He says, since Amanda Nunes has basically cleared out 2 divisions, what's next for her? Jermaine didn't even call out for a rematch when she won. After the sloppy Pena fight, the UFC won't give her a title shot. So who do you think's next for Nunes?
Yeah, wow. It's a great question. So here's what I think. Obviously, if Spencer is able to beat Cyborg at UFC 240, I think that Nunes versus Felicia Spencer is definitely the fight to make. As you know, Nunes has been very vocal about wanting to defend both belts. Obviously, I would love a Nunes versus Cyborg rematch. I don't think that's realistic given the contractual problems with Cyborg. I think, regardless of whether Cyborg wins or loses against Spencer, she is not re-signing with the UFC. That seems pretty clear. So, I think that Felicia Spencer at 145 should be next. And if not, if not JDR, even though I really hate JDR and I hate that fight, and JDR sucks. And
you may not like her personally, but why do you hate the fight?
Because it's simple. Because JDR was so frightened of fighting Cyborg that she dropped her belt. She was willing to get stripped rather than fight Cyborg. And Nunes just destroyed Cyborg in under 1 minute. So do you actually think that JDR is going to take that? Do you think JDR is going to take that rematch? What?
If you pay attention, GDR relinquished her belt because she didn't want to fight Cyborg on the principle that Cyborg is a had failed a PED test in the past. It was nothing about being scared. It was more of like a moral principle thing.
Do you actually believe that? Do you actually believe that?
Well, I just think it's funny coming from the guy who's like always personally attacking John Jones over PEDs, that a fighter takes a similar stance that you have, GDR, and then you crucify her for that stance when that's basically the same stance you have.
Oh, please. Oh, my God. I'm like,
quiet over there.
Oh, my God. I don't even know how to answer that. Just
all right, let's keep it moving.
Get out of here with that stuff.
I have one queued up from Chris Genghis Black.
Chris, what up, son?
He says, after Frankie wins the strap, do you think he'll be next for Cejudo?
Woo! That is some confidence, brah. That's some confidence, brah. You want to take this first or me?
Yeah, I'll take it. If Frankie beats Holloway.
Yeah, seriously, never gonna happen, son.
Their 145 is just so stacked that there's no way he could venture down as his first defense. He would have to fight someone in line. There's tons of guys in line at 145. So if Frankie were to do that, he may have a mandatory defense clause, or not clause like boxing, but he may have to immediately do it again with Max, because Max is basically gifting Frankie this opportunity now. So Frankie would almost be obligated to gift it back to Max if he wins. So no, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah, 100%. By the way, it's a very cute little dream that Frankie will win, but it ain't gonna happen. Okay?
We'll break that down soon enough, right?
All right. I actually have a second question from Chris Genghis Black. Do you think that first loss and ass beating Cerrone gave Hernandez has any lingering effect on the young fighter? I thought that was a great question. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't brutally knocked out where he was unconscious, so I think it was more of just like a big brother kind of, or an upperclassman kind of, a learning experience. Let's put it that way. I don't think it's
a nice way to put it.
Yeah, a learning experience. He's a young guy. It's the first time he's been humbled. He went back to the gym. Hopefully, he worked harder than ever, fixed a couple mistakes. He's going to show up better than ever. That's what I expect. So I think if there are any lingering effects, they're working in his favor based on the fact that he's so young, and this is the first time he's going to be able to go back to the drawing board and kind of look at some errors and get better. So I think we'll see a better version of Hernandez.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. Okay, and this is from at Grasp Gains. Who needs the win more this weekend, Vic or Hooker? Both are going to be in a really bad spot if they lose this.
And it's 100% James Vick. If he's on a 3-fight skid as a fairly unpopular and unspectacular fighter, I think he would be in a lot of trouble. The 155-pound division does not need him. There's a ton of 155ers. I think 1 through 20 are all killers. So he would either need to explore his options at 170 or really be in no man's land back fighting the Drew Dobers and people like that of the world after getting as high as Gaethje. So I think James Vick has quite a bit more to lose this weekend. Yeah,
I have to agree with that. We've got another question queued up real quick. This is from Nathan. That's at N_Web1212. Where does Faber fit within the division, and can he compete with top guys like Moraes, Sterling, etc.? I'll answer this first since you keep answering them first, and I've been offended by that.
Sorry.
I think that Faber can compete with them. Honestly, I know that Ricky Simone wasn't the biggest name, but this guy was, I believe, 15-1, something insane like that going into the fight.
But do you would like Faber's chances versus a Marlon Moraes? Because I certainly wouldn't.
That might be a sketchy match. Listen, Sterling, I like his chances a lot more against a Sterling.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. Out of the top 5, I think the only winnable fight for Faber would be Sterling, and that's just my opinion. I think the other guys give him a horrible time with their overall speed, quickness, etc.
Peter Yan gets knocked down every other fight.
Yeah, but he also has all kinds of versatility on striking. He outworks everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, Ricky Simone, whether we all want how we want to paint it or not, hurt Uriah badly in like the first 20 seconds of the fight.
You keep saying that he hurt Uriah badly. Dude, he didn't hurt Uriah badly. He just hit him clean.
Stumbled backwards.
He hit him clean. He was fine. No?
He was not fine. For about 5 to 8 seconds, he was not fine.
Oh, I don't know about that. Maybe I'm being biased. I love Faber. We all know that. But I don't think he looked like he was badly damaged.
Well, I certainly think he was, again, stunned to a lesser extent than Aspen Ladd, but certainly stunned for a second.
All right.
Okay. Let's see. Here's one from Jalen Ware at Strive to Be Great. He says, Johnny Walker keeps calling out Jones. I say it's too early, but he seems to be campaigning for it. Should UFC grant him the shot or give it to Corey Anderson in December? I say John beats both, and he used the hashtag AskSplitPod, which we appreciate.
Yeah, he did.
So what do you think? Should they just give Johnny Walker to Jones?
Yeah, so, look, I think it's pretty much this simple. I think that John needs to follow through with his promise after 239, which where he went on record saying that he was going to go up to heavyweight and fight the winner of Stipe versus DC2.
Are you still talking about this?
Stop, listen to me. John Jones went on record and said he was going to do that next. Now, for all the Jones fans who are upset, just hear me out. I would ask you this. Who truly deserves the next title shot against John Jones? And I'll give you a hint. The answer is nobody. There's nobody who deserves it next. They need to keep fighting. They need to get that division a little bit more settled. This is the perfect time for John to move up and show some cojones and fight the winner of Stipe DC2. And if he doesn't, then he goes back on his promise and he looks like a little bitch.
What if Stipe wins? You don't feel like we're going to have to see that trilogy of that?
I think if Stipe wins, then DC will retire.
How's he going to retire on 1-1 to see who's the greatest heavyweight in UFC history?
I mean, we'll see, but I do believe that DC retires on his next loss.
In his first, okay. I don't know about that.
Okay, what, you think Jones should keep beating up smaller guys? He's got the longest reach in all of the UFC, including heavyweights.
We should move on to the next
No. But you know what? I'm speaking facts. If you guys are offended, then, I guess you don't like facts.
We're not offended, but Jones has stated his case about staying at 205 a million times, and you keep calling for him to move up based on one comment he made. It's like...
No, based on the fact that he's extremely tall and he's got the longest reach in the UFC. So how's that biased, Fight Geek? You tell me.
Well, how is that... Because he has the longest reach means he has to go to heavyweight, in your opinion? That makes no sense.
He doesn't have to, but if he wants to be considered one of the greatest of all time, let alone the greatest, he absolutely has to.
I don't think that's true. I think lots of people already consider him one of the greatest of all time, and he obviously hasn't fought at heavyweight, so I think maybe for you that you put a little more stock in that than most.
Okay, so let me put it this way. No, that's fair. Let me put it this way, Fight Geek. Let me put it this way. Who is next at lightweight? Who deserves it? Who's that number one contender that can't be denied? Tell me. Well,
I agree with you in that sense that there really is no number one contender.
So Jones needs to move up and fight for the big boy belt.
I mean, it would certainly be a nice watch and storyline for us, but I think he's been pretty clear he doesn't want to do that. So to keep harping on it, I just don't think it's going to happen. So with that said, you don't want to see him fight Jan Blachowicz?
Oh, please.
All right, let's keep it moving. All right, this is already...
I've got 2 words for that. Oh, please.
All right, here's one from Joe Quigley. At Joe Quigley MMA. He says, since Henry is reported to be out because of his shoulder for a while, are we going to get some kind of interim belt fight or fight for the next shot between Aljo, Joey B, and Faber? You got it. We've basically covered this a couple times. I think Joseph Benavidez is going to wait. I think that he believes he can get that. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think when Henry comes back, he's going to end up fighting someone at 135. I don't think that's going to be Aljo. I just don't think there's a lot of demand for him. So it's kind of a cloudy situation. So I think that Faber is going to end up fighting someone else while Henry's out. Henry's going to come back. And as crazy as it sounds, I still think Henry's going to fight Joey B. Maybe you say he's out for the rest of the year, so maybe we get that in January or early 2020, right?
So you think Henry fights Joey B next?
Well, if he's going to be out the rest of 2019
He is.
like
he's out for
say,
the rest of the year, yes.
I mean, there's going to have to be, you think Aljo and Faber and Joseph Benavidez, all three are going to sit out waiting for him with no guarantees for the rest of the year?
No, that's why we're going back to my original idea. I think they're going to make an interim bantamweight title, Aljo versus Faber.
Okay, I think they may make that fight, but I don't think it'll be for an interim belt. So to answer the question, I say no interim belt. You say yes interim belt.
Okay, well, at the very least, they're going to make a 5-round main event number 1 contender fight.
It'll be interesting to see. I got another one right here.
Yep.
From Pete Bagels. He says, bunch of heavyweights coming up this Saturday. So how do you feel about the weight class as a whole? You've got DC, Stipe, and I don't even think Francis is that good. Just all power. He's a one-trick pony to me. But what's up, Phil?
Pete Bagels. I love you, brah. I love that. Love that. I think, and we just touched on this. You know the answer, Pete Bagels. We both do. It's time for John Jones to grow a pair and to move up to heavyweight. And don't tell me he's too small, guys. Come on. He's got the longest reach in the UFC, and he's extremely tall. He's got to summon the courage to come up to heavyweight and fight the winner of DC Stipe 2 like he said he would after 239. How is this a discussion?
Okay, relax. The question had nothing to do with John Jones. It was about the heavyweight crop of up-and-comers. Anybody interest you, yes or no?
Did you hear that? I got so excited I made Siri just started talking to me. I got so excited. I don't even know what she said, but she started talking. Okay. What's the question? Yeah, I just told you the answer, bro. No, I did answer.
He says there's a bunch of heavyweights coming up this weekend. Walt Harris, Juan Adams, Hardy. There's been some other heavyweights. Do you think any of them... How do you feel about the weight class as a whole? Not about John Jones moving up. We all know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's either... Look, I think that either, DC Stipe 2... either the winner of that is either going to, either they make a trilogy of Stipe wins, which I don't see happening. I see DC retiring if that happens, or John Jones moving up, or obviously the winner of that facing Francis Ngannou. And I got to respectfully disagree with you, Mr. Bagels, on Francis Ngannou not being that good. A one-trick pony does not beat Curtis Blades, Cain Velasquez, and Junior Dos Santos in a combined under 3 minutes, I believe.
Yeah, that one trick is super, super good.
That's quite a one trick for the pony.
All right. So that brings us, I think this might be our last one. It's from the Baz, at Bazman20. He says, do you think Suarez and Claudia should fight next? If not, who do you think's next for Suarez since the title fight has been made and JJ and the Hottie is going down? What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, okay, so I thought this was a great question, Bazman. My first thought is yes, Suarez versus Claudia is a great fight. But then where I have the but is with Rose. I don't know exactly what's going on with Rose. I know she wanted a break, but Suarez should fight Claudia or Rose Namajunas. If Rose wants to fight, it should be Suarez versus Rose. If not, Suarez versus Claudia is my answer. What about you?
Yeah, I kind of like Suarez versus Claudia. I love JJ versus the Karate Hottie. I think that's going to be a fun fight for sure. Looking forward to that one. But, yeah, I like Suarez versus Claudia. I think that'd be a good test for Suarez. I obviously would favor her, but I like that fight.
Yeah, and then really quick, were you about to miss Paulo Kelly's question? That's at SparksF1. Did you ask that?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so he says, many times I've seen a fighter dominate the early stages of a round only to lose it after his opponent has a very strong, eye-catching last 90 seconds. Do you feel a round should be judged on the full context of the round? Also, do you think that, should 10-10 rounds be more prevalent? And should the 10-point must scoring system be removed to allow 9-9 rounds? What do you think?
Well, just off the top of my head, if you allow 10-10 rounds, I mean, I don't think there would be any reason to have a 9-9 round, right?
Right, yeah.
Second of all, I just think it's so circumstantial in MMA. I almost feel like no two situations or two fights are exactly the same based on momentum shifts in a first round or a particular round. So it's really hard to say, who you may only control 1 minute out of the 5 and do more damage than the person who controlled 4 of the 5. So it's a really tough formula to kind of decipher whenever it's back and forth. So it's hard to put blanket statements on that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
If that made any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think that, both 10-10 rounds and 9-9 rounds are not helpful. Let's continue to make it, that the 10-9 scoring system when it's close. But as we discussed a little bit last episode, and I'll wrap it up real fast, as we discussed last episode, I think there is too much importance put onto octagon control. There should be more importance put onto damage given. And let's keep that 10-9 round scoring system. 10-10 and 9-9 doesn't help anybody. But is that all the questions, Fight Geek?
I think that's all for this week.
Okay, so before I hand it off to you to wrap us up, Fight Geek, I'd like to say, guys, if you have iTunes, if you happen to have a second, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. Boy, do we appreciate it. It really helps the program move along. And with that, Fight Geek, take us away, baby.
All right, guys, as usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil the MMA Dude. We're at Split_podcast. It's 4 words. The Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.
Peace.